Today, we've got breaking news. How can that be? How can every network newscast start with breaking news? But we have breaking news today. In fact, we've got a great story for you. You're not going to want to miss this. Think about it. It's got all the makings of a great disaster film, if nothing else. Why, we've got fire, we've got smoke, we've got loud noises and explosions, all in this episode from the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. It's kind of like that mythical Greek bird, the large-winged phoenix. The bird that flies into its own grave of a fiery crash and then rebirth magically comes to life. It's like that 1965 movie, The Flight of the Phoenix. Remember that one? Jimmy Stewart was in it. It's a group of guys flying a Fairchild C-82 cargo plane that crashes in the Sahara Desert. And they have to use the parts from the crashed plane to build a brand new airplane to save themselves. The Flight of the Phoenix. Here at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum, this is our Phoenix. This is no bird. This is an SD-45 owned by the Northern Pacific Railway. It was one of a group of 30 that they bought in the late 1960s, just prior to the merger in 1970 to form the BN. In the BN, they called it the 6417, and it served many years under BN colors. When the Wisconsin Central was formed, they were looking for used power any way they could find it. And this SD-45 was on the market, and they bought it. And they used it for many years. They used it and used it up. But in 2001, it was donated to the Lake Superior Railroad Museum by the then owner of the Wisconsin Central, Canadian National. And a special thanks to our friend Gordon Trafton, who saw that this engine would be preserved in the museum. But boy, did it need a lot of work. When I say the Wisconsin Central used it, they really kind of used it up. It was a parts engine. When it got to us, Gordon Trafton delivering it, in 2001, there was no main generator. There was a lot of missing parts in here too. The control stand had no controls in it. And more importantly, this engine had gone through an upgrade. Somewhere along its life, all new electronics were put in and a new electromotive control panel. All this was missing. So a group of volunteers got together and decided they were going to resurrect this phoenix of an engine. An all-volunteer effort that started with replacing everything that had been parted out to other engines. And that was a problem because this was a rebuild, and these electronics, well, they were kind of a one-off. So, of course, there wasn't a lot of parts around, first of all. Second of all, try to find somebody that knew where they all went. The volunteers did both of that. They got the parts, they got the people, and they started putting this together because it had no priority with the Railroad Museum. I mean, we always wanted to make it run, but these guys did it. Now that the generator was in place, the engine was repainted in its original NP colors, and the electronics were all in place, the crew of volunteers decided it was time to get it started. Several weeks ago, they've been working on it in the shop, turning it over by hand, barring it, that's called, making sure all the parts were in place, lubricating it probably for the first time this century, and making sure everything was ready to start. And then, just this past weekend, on Saturday, they moved it outside. It had to be jump-started with another locomotive, the 245, a former NP engine. NP helping NP. Northern Pacific's lined up and ready to start, we hoped. It cranked, and it cranked, and it cranked, and it cranked some more. Finally, something had to be done. There just wasn't enough compression to combust the fuel and air in the cylinders, and therefore, it was time for fire in the hole. And here's what they did. They opened the air box, the handholds, took a gallon of kerosene, poured it across the top of the engine, and lit it on fire. After the fire went out, they had to relubricate, and then, of course, it was warm and hot in that air box on the cylinder heads, and when they cranked it over the next time, it fired up with a magnificent show of smoke. Black, dark smoke. But the engine was running for the first time this century. After it ran for a while, confidence built up in the volunteers, and they decided, you know what? Let's see if it moves. And magically, the 3617 came to life. Just like that Phoenix, using parts that had been put back in place, there she was, running down the tracks under her own power, again, for the first time this century. It was a great job, and we congratulate every one of the volunteers and our friends at ILS for helping get this engine started. You know, it's the second one this winter that has, like the Phoenix, risen from its own ashes. The DSS&A 101, it ran just at the end of last year for the first time in a long, long time. And now this engine running again. Oh, there's still a little more work to do on it before she's ready for the main line, but she'll eventually get out there, and it'll be running on the North Shore Scenic Railroad. If you want to know more about this engine, we put a link up here so you can see one of the earlier episodes we taped to learn more about the 3617. So somebody asked me on Saturday, you got the 101 running, now you got this NP engine running. Do you really need all that power? Why did you do it? You know, it's what we do. And now here's what you have to do. First of all, wash your hands, cover your coughs, don't touch your face, keep a social distance. Remember, it's not a task to wear a mask. It's the right thing to do. In the meantime, you can help this project and any other project here at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. Go to duluthtrains.com/support. Look for Power Up the 3617 or any one of our other projects that you may want to donate to. We donate time, we donate our volunteers. Maybe you can help us with a little cash. Take care of each other.